Tonight, the stars fall slowly, not from the sky, but from the heart of heaven itself. You're not in your bedroom tonight. You are standing at the edge of eternity, in a time before time, when light had no shadow, and the brightest of them all was still called Morning Star. This is not the story of evil. It's the story of beauty that became blind, of worship turned to ambition, of a voice that once sang before the throne, now echoing in rebellion. What makes an angel forget where his light came from? And how does heaven respond when pride is born among the holy? Tonight, we begin the journey of one who fell not from grace, but from within. Where are you listening from tonight? I read every comment. And if this kind of storytelling speaks to your heart, you're welcome to join us. Just tap subscribe before you drift off. You are no longer in your room. You are where time has not yet begun, where eternity breathes without end, and light is not made, but born. Before creation, before dust knew shape, there was a song. And at the center of that song stood a being, radiant, flawless, beyond comprehension. His name was not Lucifer yet, not in this beginning. Here, he is called Hellelf Morning Star, the first of beauty, the highest among the host. He does not walk. He glides on waves of shimmering glory, wings outstretched, vast as the cosmos not yet formed, each feather pulsing with living light, not the light of stars, but the reflection of something greater, the radiance of the one who sits beyond the sea of glass. The air hums softly with reverence. His presence is not worshipped, but it leads the worship. He is the conductor of heaven's praise, the voice that calls the choirs of seraphim into harmony. You see him standing upon crystalline ground. Beneath his feet, sapphires. Around his robe, flames that do not burn. His eyes are calm, focused, fixed upon the throne still veiled, still unspeakable. When he sings, the heavens move, not from command, but from awe. And when he lifts his hands, glory responds like water stirred by wind. He is not proud. Not yet. He is what he was made to be. A mirror of majesty. Every beat of his being reflects the Holy One. He bows not to be lesser, but to magnify. He leads, not from power, but from purity. The other angels gather in his light, not to adore him, but to follow him toward the throne. You feel it. Peace, purity, the perfection of a heaven without fracture. But now, a whisper drifts through that perfection, not in words, but in awareness. He sees his reflection. In the river that runs beside the throne, he looks, and instead of seeing only the one he mirrors, he sees himself. He does not look away. The gaze lingers. The silence stretches. For the first time in eternity, he does not sing. And in that pause, a thought enters where none should live. This light is beautiful. This power is mine. This place fits me well. He does not speak it. He does not need to. He stands taller. The tilt of his chin rises. And though no angel sees it, heaven itself shivers. The cherubim continue their flight. The seraphim still cry, "Holy," but something has shifted. You feel it in your chest. A slow, aching breath, as if the heart of eternity forgot to beat. It is not rebellion. Not yet. It is the seed of self, the first root of pride. And pride, even here, grows silently. From devotion to desire, from reflection to ambition. The river does not stop flowing. The light does not dim. But the morning star has begun to believe, not in the source, but in himself. And somewhere, in the stillness beyond the veil, the throne remains unmoved, but watching, because the brightest among angels has started to cast a shadow. You return, but the silence is no longer peaceful. Something has shifted. Not in the throne, not in the light, but in the air between. He walks again, the morning star, but now his steps echo. Where there was harmony, there is now hesitation. Where there was surrender, there is now a silent question. His wings still shine, but they no longer rest softly at his back. They unfold too wide, as if he needs more space. The other angels do not notice. Not yet. They still follow when he sings. But his melody now bends in strange ways. Still beautiful, but different. There are new tones now. Tones that linger too long. Chords that reach inward instead of upward. And slowly, the choirs begin to glance sideways. They do not say it, but they feel it. Something is no longer pure. You watch as the morning star approaches the high places, the ones closest to the throne. He no longer walks humbly. Now he surveys, he counts, he measures, he speaks to others softly, but not with worship, with wonder. Why do we sing if we could speak? Why do we bow if we could rise? Are we not made of glory too? At first, only a few hear him, cherubim of lesser rank, messengers from the outer courts. But seeds do not need crowds, they need only soil. And heaven, in its innocence, never built walls. You see the ripple spread slowly, like a breeze disturbing still waters. Wings flutter where they should not. Eyes meet, then quickly look away. The morning star smiles. It is not the smile of joy. It is the smile of certainty. He begins to isolate, not from God, but from worship. He no longer sings to the throne. He sings before it, as if to say, I am near enough. He starts speaking of design, of freedom, of how beauty deserves recognition, of how creation could be reshaped, not destroyed, just reformed, improved. You hear murmurs now, not loud, but enough. Some angels nod, others stay silent. But silence in heaven has never been neutral. You feel the weight of this moment, because now there are two songs in heaven, one that exalts, one that questions. And though the throne has not spoken, though the veil has not lifted, judgment is already moving, not with wrath, but with sorrow. For nothing breaks heaven, like a heart that forgets who lit it. And the morning star, once a mirror, is now building a stage. You stand in a heaven that no longer feels whole, not because anything was taken, but because something has been withheld. Worship still rises, but it feels divided, like a river that split itself in two, yet claims to flow from the same spring. The morning star now moves through the courts of glory, with confidence, but not communion. He no longer joins the worship as he once did. He leads gatherings apart from the throne, not in defiance, not yet, but in honest conversation. He speaks of order, but sows unrest. He speaks of freedom, but means elevation. His words are woven with beauty, with reason, with shimmering deception, and the angels, Some still bow, but others begin to hesitate. They look to the throne, then to him, and then to themselves. Innocence, once as natural as light, now requires effort. Loyalty, once as effortless as breath, now comes with doubt. You see, the first seraphim choose silence instead of song, not because they rebel, but because they're confused. And confusion here is the beginning of rebellion. Lucifer, yes. Now he carries that name in whispers, has not declared war. He has declared possibility. What if heaven could be more? What if obedience is not the only way to show devotion? What if the throne is shared? He speaks with eloquence. He paints visions of a new order. Not chaos, not violence, but improvement. He does not scream. He does not threaten. He simply invites. And those who listen begin to change. Their wings don't dim. Their halos do not fall. But their hearts turn slightly away. They begin to imagine that perhaps the light they carry is not only a reflection, but a source. That perhaps the one who leads them was born not to serve, but to rise. You feel it now deep in the fibers of this holy realm. A tear, not seen, but sensed. Michael stands still, his eyes fixed on the throne. He does not speak, but his silence is louder than Lucifer's sermons. Gabriel watches too, his trumpet untouched, as if waiting for a command not yet given. The veil of the throne does not lift. The Lord does not intervene. But justice is not slow. It is deliberate. And heaven waits, like lungs holding breath, before the cry. Because war in heaven does not begin with swords. It begins with a choice. And that choice is near. Lucifer walks to the highest point he can reach, to the border where heaven's edge meets the silence beyond. He looks down at all that bows, then up, not in worship, but in wonder, and he whispers, "To no one, and to everyone, I will ascend. I will place my throne above the stars. I will be like the Most High." But what he does not know, what pride never sees, is that heaven was never his to change, only his to reflect. And a reflection that turns from its source fades. You return to heaven, but heaven no longer welcomes you, not because it rejects, but because something sacred has been broken. You feel it in the light. It flickers, not in darkness, but in tension. The angels no longer fly as one. Wings that once moved in perfect harmony now beat out of sync. The songs, they do not rise. They question, and in the middle of it all, Lucifer. He stands not in hiding, but in declaration. No crown upon his head, but ambition upon his brow. He walks like a king without a throne. And those who follow, they follow not because they believe in him, but because they have stopped believing in what they once knew. Doubt has dressed itself as enlightenment. Curiosity has become cause. You feel the court split, not by walls, but by will. He gathers those who whispered in corners, those who longed for more light, not realizing they were being pulled from the source. And then, a sound, not music, not praise, a name, spoken not by man, nor by angel, but by heaven itself. Lucifer. It does not echo. It penetrates. He turns, slowly. He was not hiding, but he was not ready to be seen. Around him, the veil begins to tremble. Not tear, but ripple. The throne is still silent, but the silence is not passive. It watches. It waits. Michael steps forward. You feel it in the air. The charge before a storm. Not of anger, but of sorrow. He does not draw a sword. Not yet. He draws a line. One not made of stone, but of loyalty. He speaks no threats. Only truth. You were the anointed cherub. You walked among the stones of fire. You were blameless until pride was found in you. Lucifer says nothing. His face does not fall. It rises higher, because to him, the confrontation is confirmation. If heaven has noticed, then he must matter. He lifts his arms, and those behind him kneel. Not in worship, but in allegiance. You feel it, the balance tipping. Not in strength, but in direction. Worship has turned, obedience has shifted. And the first war in history does not begin with steel, but with intention. Michael raises his eyes, not to Lucifer, but to the throne. And at once, the veil lifts. Just a breath. Just enough. And all of heaven trembles. The throne does not shout. It does not move. It speaks only one word. Enough. And in that instant, time obeys. Wings of fire erupt. Swords are drawn, not by hands, but by command. Lightning folds itself into form. Heaven divides. The stars above do not fall, but one does. The morning star, the bearer of light, the voice of glory, Lucifer. And as he begins to fall, as the weight of defiance pulls him down, he does not scream. He smiles, because he believes. He still has time to rise again. You fall with him now, not because you belong to him, but because you must understand what it means to lose heaven. There is no sky here, no sound, no color, only descent. Lucifer does not scream. He does not twist or beg. He falls in silence, wrapped in fire, not consuming him, but marking him. A third of heaven falls with him. You feel them pass. Wings torn by choice, not force. They are not dragged. They descend, willingly, following the one they called leader. Even when leadership became rebellion, they believed his light would carry them. But now, that light burns them. The stars remain above, uncorrupted, unwavering. But below, darkness waits, not as a place, as a consequence. Lucifer's radiance fades as he falls, not all at once, but piece by piece. First, the fire in his wings, then the song in his spirit, then the peace in his eyes. And when he lands, there is no ground, only void, a hollow so wide, even echo refuses to live here. This is not hell, not yet. This is exile, the place without presence, where the light of the throne does not reach, where worship cannot breathe. Lucifer stands, or tries to. He is not broken, but he is reduced, not in power, but in purpose. He looks up, but heaven is veiled from view. The gates do not appear. The stars are hidden. The river of light is gone. He is alone. And yet, he refuses to weep. You feel it now. His pride, still intact. It did not fall. It followed him. He calls out, not to God, but to the ones around him. They gather in the darkness, some wounded, some silent, all changed. He speaks. His voice trembles not with sorrow, but with fury. I will build again. I will rise. I will create my throne. In the heart of this shadow, the others nod, not because they believe, But because they no longer know what else to follow, Lucifer begins to shape the exile. He does not call it punishment. He calls it opportunity. He names the hollow kingdom. He names the fall awakening. And the angels who fell, he renames them too. No longer messengers, no longer servants. They become legions. They become watchers. They become deceivers. He calls himself not servant, but sovereign. You feel the grief of heaven, not in wrath, but in stillness, because when light chooses itself over its source, it burns. And though he still remembers the throne, he does not remember the stillness that made him whole. Lucifer builds. He mimics what he lost. He imitates structure. He copies glory. But without the breath of the holy, it is only shadow. He declares war, not with armies, but with lies. He will not climb back to heaven. He will try to drag heaven down. And so the war that began in silence now waits in darkness, watching the sons of men, because if he cannot dethrone God, he will try to desecrate his image. And that image is you. The darkness has grown quieter, not peaceful, but settled. Lucifer walks in the exile he named kingdom. It echoes with imitation. Pillars of shadow rise where light once danced. Thrones of stone, cold and cracked, surround him like loyal ghosts. His followers no longer sing. They whisper, they plan, they remember, but remembering only burns. Lucifer does not cry. He does not pray. He watches. His eyes no longer face heaven. They scan the deep. And there, in the distant quiet of time, he sees something. A shape. A form. Breath. Not angels. Not stars. Something new. He watches as hands of glory dig into dust, as fingers of holiness mold the unshaped, and then, into that clay, the breath. Not just life, but image. Lucifer steps back, not in fear, in rage, because for the first time, he sees the echo of heaven in something lower than clouds. Not a throne, not a choir, a man. And this man, he walks without wings. He sings without knowing the name of the one who made him. But even so, he carries the light, the same light Lucifer once reflected, now given to flesh, to dust. You feel Ithis fury swelling. The exile trembles with the sound of grinding stone. His legions stir. Because this is not creation. This is insult. Why give such glory to earth? Why place such beauty in bones? Lucifer watches the man walk in the garden. He sees him laugh. He sees him love. And worst of all, he sees him trusted. The Creator walks with the man, speaks with him, touches his shoulder. Lucifer cannot bear it. He speaks now to his fallen kin, not softly, but with venom. They are weak. They are small. They are interruptible. He does not need to raise an army. He needs only a whisper. And into the garden, he sends his voice. Not with thunder, not with flame, with question. You hear it. Not loud, but surgical. Did God really say? It is not a lie. It is a fracture. Lucifer understands now, if he cannot rise to heaven, he will make heaven fall to him. And if man carries the image, then the image must be shattered, not with swords, but with suggestion, not with violence, but with choice. He waits, patiently, because rebellion tastes sweeter when it feels like freedom And so the serpent winds around the tree, and the woman listens, and the fruit glows. But this is not hunger. This is seed. Lucifer watches as the first heart breaks away from trust. And he smiles, not because he wins, but because God must now watch what Lucifer knows too well. That betrayal always begins with beauty. The garden is no longer still. You feel it like a breeze that hesitates, a light that no longer rests gently on the leaves. Something has shifted, not in creation, but in the connection. The man hides, the woman trembles, and the voice that once walked with them in the cool of the evening now calls out into silence. Where are you? But it is not a question of location. It is the sound of loss, of a father looking for a child who no longer knows how to be held. Lucifer watches. He does not gloat. He does not dance. He waits, because this, to him, is victory. Not the destruction of man, but the separation. The breath of God, once resting fully in Adam's chest, now shivers, not because it has faded, but because it has fractured. Shame wraps around them, like fig leaves woven with trembling hands. They were naked before, but now they feel exposed. Not to the world, to themselves. Lucifer understands. This is how it began for him, too. The shift from reflection to obsession, from presence to self. Now he sees it mirrored in these fragile bodies of dust. They were meant to carry glory. Now they carry fear. And fear, he knows, is easier to feed than faith. You watch as the voice of God returns. Not with fire, not with rage, but with grief. The words fall slowly. Who told you that you were naked? And again, the whisper of Lucifer echoes in their silence. He is not seen, but he is everywhere. Not in body, but in consequence. Because rebellion births more than punishment. It births distance, and heaven watches from above. Lucifer walks the edges of Eden, his form shadowed, his face unreadable. He does not need to speak again. His work is done. The gate is closed, the garden sealed, and mankind steps into a world where light still exists, but feels far away. And in that distance, Lucifer finds his new purpose. He becomes the accuser, not just the tempter, not just the serpent. Now he stands between man and mercy, pointing fingers, repeating names, reminding them of what they are not. You are no longer holy. You are no longer wanted. You are no longer enough. You feel the heaviness of it, the guilt not born of justice, but of despair. Lucifer does not build kingdoms with bricks. He builds them with lies. He convinces man to run from God instead of to him. He teaches them to cover their wounds, to hide their prayers, to pretend. And, generation by generation, the echo of Eden fades. But God does not forget. He does not abandon. Even in exile, he begins to whisper again, not to angels, to men, not through thunder, but through stories, through promises, through covenants. Lucifer hears it. He hears the name of one who is coming, one who will crush the serpent's head, and for the first time since his fall, he feels something unfamiliar, fear, because grace is a language he cannot speak, and though he may accuse, and divide, and lie, there is one coming, who will carry light, not as reflection, but as essence. And when that light appears, Lucifer's shadow will tremble. The earth is no longer a garden. It is a field of thorns. not just on the ground, but in the heart. You watch generations rise. Cain, his hands stained not with fruit, but with blood. Nations emerge, towers rise, altars are built, some to remember, others to forget. And in the cracks between glory and ambition, Lucifer walks, not as fire, not as serpent, now as whisper, as idea, as suggestion dressed in brilliance. He does not need armies. He needs only desire. Desire for power, for pleasure, for self. You see kings crowned in gold, but ruled by fear. You see altars lit with fire, but offerings made to silence. And behind it, always, he waits. He does not call himself Lucifer now. That name carries memory. Now he wears names like mist, Baal, Molech, Ra, Zeus. He is worshipped, not as himself, but through reflections twisted. Statues are carved, rituals invented, children sacrificed, as if their blood could buy favor from gods who do not speak. Lucifer watches. He does not weep. He delights, because now the image of God has forgotten who it mirrors. Man builds cities, but loses home. He builds temples, but forgets presence. And when prophets rise, voices like thunder among dust, Lucifer answers with counterfeits. He empowers sorcerers. He fills false seers with signs. He creates religion without relationship, because the greatest lie is not that God does not exist, but that he cannot be known. You feel the ache of the heavens, not in fury, but in longing, because through all of it, a promise still pulses. A seed is coming, a savior, and so Lucifer shifts. He no longer waits in caves. He walks into palaces. He whispers to rulers, slaughter the innocent, crush the lineage, stop the prophecy. From Pharaoh's orders in Egypt to Herod's massacre in Bethlehem, he strikes early, hoping that redemption can bleed before it breathes. But he miscalculates, because while he watches kings and bloodlines, he forgets to look for humility. And so, in a small town, under a quiet star, a woman sings, and inside her womb, light stirs again, not borrowed, not reflected, born. Lucifer feels it, not in his eyes, but in his kingdom. The shadows tremble. Something has entered the world that does not belong to him, and this time it will not fall. The wilderness is not silent. It breathes with heat, with hunger, with waiting. You are not in Eden. This is no garden. No rivers run here. Only wind, and dust, and absence. And into this emptiness, he walks, not with chariots, not with trumpets, but barefoot, alone, starving. 40 days of silence, 40 nights of ache. The ground cracks beneath his steps. The sun does not show mercy. Even the birds fly wide around him. And Lucifer watches. He has waited for this. Not the wilderness, the weakness. He remembers the garden, how easy it was to twist the image. Now he sees the image again. But this one does not tremble. He waits until the hunger becomes hollow, until the stomach no longer speaks, only groans. And then he comes. not in rage, not in flame, in conversation. If you are the Son of God, the words slither across the sand. Turn these stones to bread. It is not a dare. It is an invitation. To prove, to display, to indulge. But the man does not answer with power. He answers with word. It is written, "Man shall not live by bread alone." Lucifer pauses. He shifts. A failed strike, but not a retreat. Next, the temple, the height. He places the man, where gravity tempts courage. Throw yourself down, for he will command his angels concerning you. This is not a lie. It is scripture, twisted. Lucifer has learned that the sharpest weapons come from stolen truth. But again, the man speaks not as a miracle worker, but as a son. It is written, "Do not put the Lord your God to the test." Lucifer feels it. This is not Adam. This is not clay. This is something unbreakable. But he tries one last time. A mountain, a vision. Kingdoms glitter before them. The wealth of empires, the crowns of men, the applause of generations. All this I will give you. He says, if you bow down and worship me. No disguise now, no serpent, just shadow, asking for what he's always wanted, worship. And for the first time since the fall, Lucifer is commanded, "Away from me, Satan, for it is written, worship the Lord your God and serve him only." The ground does not shake, but the war just turned. Lucifer flees, not because he is afraid of fire, but because he cannot bend the one who carries no pride. You watch him vanish into the horizon. His silence is louder than thunder. The man stands alone, still hungry, still human, but wholly holy. And above him, the heavens open, not with applause, with a whisper, "This is my son, in whom I am well pleased." Lucifer hears it, and he knows this battle will not be won in gardens or deserts. It will be won on a hill, with wood and nails. And this time, he will not face a servant. He will face the light he tried to replace. The cross was not his invention, but Lucifer believed it was his idea. He had tried gardens. He had tried deserts. Now, he would try blood. You watch him weave his web, not with swords, but with whispers. The plan begins in shadows. A man with silver in his hand, a kiss meant to betray, a crowd stirred by fear, a judge too tired to stand for truth. And above it all, Lucifer smiles. He sees the sun in chains. He sees him mocked, beaten, rejected, and he whispers, "This is it." He does not fear the cross. He welcomes it, because to him, a Messiah who dies is a Messiah defeated. He remembers the prophecies, the promises, the covenant, and he believes if the Son of God dies, the promise dies with him. So he pushes harder. The voices shout, "Crucify him!" The hands raise hammers. The wood is lifted. The thorns press deep. And Lucifer watches. He watches nails pierce flesh. He hears the breath falter. He sees the sky grow dark. And in that darkness, he feels victory. The light he could not dim is being extinguished. The man who refused to bow now hangs in silence. And then, the words, "It is finished." But to Lucifer, it sounds like, "I am finished." So he rejoices, not with song, with silence, because he believes heaven has lost. He believes the throne has failed to protect its son. He believes he has finally rewritten the story. But what he does not see, not yet, is the veil tearing. He does not hear the graves cracking open. He does not feel the earthquake beneath his own feet. Because while he watches death, he does not watch the temple. And in the temple, God moves, not in wrath, in invitation, because the moment the blood falls, mercy begins to rise. You see it now, what Lucifer cannot. The cross is not defeat, it is doorway. The nails did not hold power. They released it. The wood did not crush glory. It crowned it. And the tomb is not a prison. It is a womb. Lucifer retreats, for a moment, confused. He expected silence. He hears shaking. He expected celebration. He feels unrest. And on the third day, his kingdom splits, not by rebellion, by resurrection. Light re-enters the earth, not borrowed, not reflected, but risen. And Lucifer understands too late. The cross was not his plan. It was his undoing, because what he thought was a grave was a gate. The tomb is empty, and hell is quiet. Not the quiet of peace, but quiet of confusion. Lucifer stands in a kingdom he no longer controls. The walls are still black, the air still heavy, but something has changed. Something escaped. He does not say it aloud. He dares not, but he knows. Death has been interrupted. He walks his corridors of shadow. He sees the gates of his prison still closed, but no longer sealed, because one walked in without chains and walked out without permission. The risen light now walks the earth. And worse, he is not alone. Lucifer had planned for the tomb. He had prepared for grief, for hopelessness, for silence. But now, upper rooms fill with flame. Languages are spoken by fishermen. Blind men see. Demons scream at the sound of a name, and that name is everywhere. He watches as Saul falls from his horse, as Peter's shadow heals the sick, as women and children carry the fire of testimony. Lucifer cannot be everywhere, but now he doesn't have to be, because fear spreads faster than faith. So he changes again. No longer the deceiver in the garden, no longer the accuser in the courts. Now, he becomes division. He enters pulpits. He perverts doctrine. He turns truth into tools for power. He builds churches without presence. He crafts sermons that tickle ears, but never break chains. And when he cannot stop the message, he multiplies it until it loses meaning. You see him now, in crowds shouting, "Lord, Lord," but whose hearts remain stone. You see him, in hands lifted high, but feet that never walk in mercy. Because if he cannot stop the resurrection, he will drown it in noise. But the Spirit is not loud. He is wind. He moves through rooms, through dreams, through prison cells, through broken hearts. Lucifer cannot hold him. He cannot track him. He cannot corrupt him, Because the Spirit does not dwell in temples made by hands, but in hearts made clean by fire. You feel it now, Lucifer's frustration. He once battled the throne in heaven. Now he battles altars inside men. And every time one bends the knee, every time one repents, every time one forgives, he loses ground. Not in territory, but in influence. And he knows his time is not endless, because the same voice that said, "It is finished," also said, "I will come again." Lucifer waits, not in hope, in fury. Because his war is no longer about a throne in the clouds, but about the hearts of those made from dust, yet filled with glory. And that battle is the one he is now losing. Time no longer matters, because what happens now was always written before stars, before angels, before the first "let there be." Lucifer knows it, but he pretends not to. He walks the earth still, disguised in influence, wrapped in desire, crowned in temporary victories. He builds systems, cultures, empires. He whispers into minds, seeds lies in hearts, and watches as men worship themselves while believing they are free. But deep within him, beneath the arrogance, beneath the fury, he feels it, the nearing. The promises he once mocked now grow louder. The signs multiply. The Spirit stirs the hearts of the humble, and even creation groans with expectation. Lucifer moves faster now. He does not rest. He accelerates deception. He sends false prophets. He fabricates miracles. He tries to imitate everything holy, but cannot reproduce presence. Then it begins. The skies break open. The trumpet sounds. And the one he tempted, the one he mocked, the one he thought he had destroyed, returns. But not as servant. As king, he comes not on foot, but on fire. Not with wounds, but with glory. His eyes flames, his robe dipped in the blood of redemption. On his thigh, King of Kings, Lord of Lords. And with him, hosts, not trembling angels, triumphant ones. Lucifer gathers his armies, not of flesh, but of allegiance. The deceived, the furious, the proud. He still believes he can win. He always believed. The field is set. The heavens above, the earth below, all wait. And then it ends. Not with a long war, not with a sword, with the Word. And the Word, who was with God, who was God, who became flesh and crushed death, speaks. And in that moment, Lucifer falls again. Not from heaven, not from favor, from relevance. His lies dissolve, his thrones vanish, his name erased from eternity. He is seized, bound, cast into the lake he once thought would belong to others. There is no glory in his end, no applause, no fear, only silence, because pride, when fully judged, has no voice left. You watch now. As the new begins, the tears of generations wiped, the sting of sin healed. A city descends, not made of gold alone, but of presence, of unbroken light, and at its center, no temple, no sun, only him, the one who never fell, the one who gave breath to dust, the one who endured the cross, the one who returned. Lucifer is forgotten, and the light he once tried to steal now shines forever. In those who never deserved it, but were loved anyway. You are no longer in the war. You are where peace lives. The sky is no longer split. The earth no longer groans. The stars no longer look down with sorrow. All has been made new. You walk slowly through a city not built by hands, but by heart, by covenant, by fire that did not burn away, but refined. The streets are not made of gold for wealth. They shimmer because they remember. Every stone beneath your feet remembers the weight of mercy. You pass by trees, not withered, but blooming. Their leaves whisper healing. Their fruit sings eternity. You feel it in your chest. That stillness, that breath, that knowing that you are home. The throne is no longer hidden. It is not guarded. It is open. Not because heaven changed, but because now you are holy enough to approach. You see faces, not of angels, of saints, of wanderers who once wept, now laughing, of broken men now whole, of forgotten women now crowned. They do not boast. They do not bow from fear. They belong. And you walk among them, because the light that once shattered darkness now shines in you. You do not carry shame here. It cannot follow. You do not carry sorrow. It cannot breathe here. What once chased you, what once accused you, what once whispered to you in the night, is gone. The enemy is gone. Lucifer, the fallen one, the deceiver, the accuser, no throne, no voice, no name, only memory. And even that fades, because love does not share space with fear, and eternity does not echo the voice of pride. You rest now, not because the battle is over, but because the war was never yours to win. It was always his. You lie down in a meadow that knows no sunset. You close your eyes to a sky that never dims. And the last sound you hear is not thunder, nor trumpet, nor cry. It is the whisper of the one who loved you before you ever knew your own name. Welcome home. And now, may the silence of heaven cover your heart. May the light that never burns out guide your dreams tonight. May no shadow follow you. May no lie touch you. May no voice rise above the one who calls you his. Rest in the truth that the enemy has fallen, but love remains. That pride was cast down, but grace lifted you up. May the Lord bless you and keep you. May his face shine upon you, even in sleep. May his peace wrap around you, like arms that never let go, until morning comes and you rise renewed.